Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by Ben One White and Mr. William Brad Alice. All right, we got a lot to get through this show. It's been a very fascinating. Let's see here. I don't know, about 5 or 6 hours. Real quick, we're going to talk some football, and then we're going to get to basketball because I think that's what's on the majority of people's minds. But yes, Arizona football gets a very nice win against Houston. Kind of at the stage now, guys, where a win is a win is a win, and I think you're going to take that one every day of the week if you're Brent Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona got it done. Defense came into play with, 3 turnovers, 4 fourth-down stops. Tyler Loop had over 100 yards in field goals, which was more than Houston had for 3.5 quarters passing. And frankly, Arizona didn't play great on offense, but took advantage of the broken play on the offsides. We got the Quali Conley run, took advantage of some field position. So the good news was, despite the injuries, the defense played really, really well. And the offense is what it is. I mean, when you have Frank Capra or whoever is your left tackle, and he gave up a sack on the first play, gave up a sack on one of his last plays. There are issues still on the offense, but they made the most of it tonight, and they're still alive for a bowl game, which is something. I mean, it's a disappointing season, but it was a good win.
Yep. Ben, get that in, then we're going to get to basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I thought from start to finish, right, I thought it was going to be a fluky game. Both teams have had their struggles in different ways throughout the year, but you kind of thought, all right, Arizona's in this game. It's tied up. You're not really able to run the ball. Noah Fifita doesn't have a lot of time to throw the ball. Just recurring things that we've seen game over game this season, but you got to tip the cap to Quali Conley, man, in the second half. I mean, that 51-yard touchdown, just some of those breakaway runs. And granted, Houston did shoot themselves in the foot a lot of times there with the fake punt and some of the turnovers on downs, going forward on fourth down. And if you think Arizona's play calling is not great offensively, well, Houston really showed you that they can top that when it comes to some head-scratching calls. That was for sure the case. And I thought Arizona stayed composed, and I thought it was really a game, at least halfway through, where, one team or the other could have easily maybe pulled away, not necessarily by, a huge margin, but, a significant one. But Arizona adjusted. They stayed committed to the run, or at least trying to establish the run. And ultimately they were able to do that in the second half. And Houston's just not a very good football team.
No, Houston is not a very good football team. We'll get back to them in a little bit, but we're going to talk some Arizona basketball because that's what's on everybody's mind. Guys, I might sound like a little bit pie in the sky. I do not really care on this one. I don't take a ton away from this game against Wisconsin. Now, again, there are some points that I don't like. Obviously, we're going to talk about the defense, and I'm generally not to blame the officiating guy, even though I do like putting cheating out there on Twitter. But I've never really seen anything quite like this in the first 10 minutes. I think there were 14 free throws that were taken by Wisconsin. There might have even been more than that. Guys, to me, it was almost impossible for Arizona to get in any kind of rhythm. It felt like they were kind of scraping uphill. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but I don't take a ton away from this game against Wisconsin. What say you guys?
I don't necessarily take a whole lot away, but there are a bunch of red flags. The officiating was bad. I thought it was bad both ways. Obviously, it favored Wisconsin early, but I think the difference is 4 free throws, which is nothing for a road game. Both teams are saddled with fouls. It hurts Arizona offensively, I think, more than Wisconsin, but Wisconsin did a better job shooting free throws. I mean, Wisconsin scored 100 and something points, and shot well from the field. Arizona did not, especially from behind the arc. Defensively, I've got some worries now. A lot of those, it's the same thing we've seen from Lloyd. A lot of wide open threes, a lot of not switching or not hedging, and then letting the one kid, I forget his name now, but 40 points.
Tonje?
Really? Tonje had 4. I mean, he looked like he was on a different level. And again, He got to the line repeatedly. I get it. But these are things that are worrisome. Arizona offensively was kind of out of rhythm all night, still scored 88. Again, they got to the line a lot, but they only had 6 assists. They didn't have many turnovers, which I guess they couldn't shoot from the outside as well. So those issues are worrisome. The one other thing that's worrying me is there were several times tonight they looked low IQ. They just didn't make smart decisions. Now, some of that might have been just getting frustrated with officiating early in the season, still trying to get some chemistry. But there were some awful turnovers. There was some laziness, not adjusting to things. So it could be a one-off. We've seen it. Unfortunately, you usually get these one-offs in your season of the tournament. But there were enough red flags that I'm more worried than I was heading into the game.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard with the amount of fouls that were called, especially early on, for a team in Arizona and really, frankly, even Wisconsin, just so early in the season. This is really your first big-time matchup going toe-to-toe with another Power 5 opponent. I think it's really hard to get in any sort of rhythm just when the officials were calling the game that they were. To Brad's point, I thought there were a lot of just careless turnovers at times and just not smart basketball plays. And I understand, right? You know, if you're going to foul a 3-point shooter or foul somebody who's taken a pretty deep outside shot, you know, that's warranted. I get that. And there were a number of cases where Arizona just fouled and you just kind of scratched your head and said, what are you doing there? And it was even players like Caleb Love, who ultimately fouled out with 5 minutes left in the game, where you kind of think, all right, you're a veteran, you've been here a while, these mistakes should not be happening. And I think a combination of that and the fact that you've got, you know, some younger guys, obviously, in Lewis and even Carter Bryant, who saw, I think, close to 20 minutes, if not 15 minutes. He had 4 personal fouls. It was really tough for him when he was out there. And just Arizona could not get into a rhythm. And, you know, we thought about Wisconsin going into this game, and we knew that, you know, the one thing about them was, right, they had 2 7-foot guys, and they were going to be able to get to the line. They did that, right or wrong. The officials, I think, definitely helped them to an extent, right, when it comes to that. But Arizona had to be ready, and it just seems like they weren't ready for that. And you know, you talk about all that stuff on defense, and then offensively, to shoot 17% from 3, you're missing key shots when you need them. And there were stretches where Arizona got going in transition and they forced a couple of turnovers and the offense looked good, especially there in the second half. But I'm sorry, man, when you shoot 17% from 3 and you've got somebody like Caleb Love going 2 for 13 in this game, Arizona's just not going to win big time games. You know, we keep saying it. We said this all last year, but you know, when you play a Wisconsin or even a team to this level and going all the way up, when Caleb Love has this kind of performance, you're just not going to win these kind of games. You got to see better play out of somebody like him. And I think Jaden Bradley really kind of put the team on his back. I mean, in that second half, how many times were they getting aggressive on defense, able to break away a little bit, and Jaden Bradley would just take the ball to the rim and get to the line. And if Arizona makes some of those free throws, maybe we're having a little bit of a different conversation, because I think at one point you could make the argument the game would have been tied there, at least midway through the second half, if Arizona was hitting their free throws. But just a combination of a bunch of different things that didn't go right. Do I still worry about some things defensively? I do, because we're seeing that reoccurring theme, right? The 2 things we keep talking about is 3-point defense and when it comes to pressing guys and really hedging on pick and rolls, it just seems like whatever Tommy Lloyd team is out there, they're just very reluctant to do that. And you know, against a team like Wisconsin, it's just not gonna be acceptable. And then this is what you saw ultimately tonight. Just a very weird game overall, I guess, if I had to put it one way.
It was a very, very odd game. We're going to get to that in just a second. But first, let's get to the Sanderson Ford drive of the game. We're going to have this for basketball, though. And basketball is back, and so are the deals at Arizona's largest Ford dealership. Sanderson Ford, shop America's most awarded Ford dealership with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense. To me, the biggest play was that 8-point play. The Caleb Love, the technical foul. Essentially, that was 8 points you gave them. You're not going to win a lot of games if you give them 8 points on one possession. Guys, that to me was the Sanderson Ford drive of the game, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it certainly was the possession of the game. Although Arizona battled back, that really put them on their heels. When you give up, what was it, 4 free throws and a 3-pointer, it's tough to come back from. And Arizona did, but then, they had to expend a lot of energy to get that game tied. They had the 8-0 run to start, I believe it was the second half. But, it just, it was a mental mistake. It was some frustration. And you can't get frustrated with the refs. I mean, they're going into a conference that is going to be more physical. That's maybe the good news. I was surprised how ticky-tack that game was at times. And other times, the guys were killing each other. So that was, I think, the biggest problem with this one was, again, when it comes down to 3 or 4 free throw difference, again, on the road. But it was just so disjointed.
To me,
someone hammered on one end and then a ticky-tack on the other. And although the ticky-tack was a legit foul, well, you can't do that if you have guys diving on top of each other and throwing elbows on the other end.
Yeah, I guess the only difference to me is that, yes, it evened out. But when you have something like the disparity that you had to start out the game, though, where 10 minutes in and they've already shot 16 free throws or something, that to me was where it was just really kind of that was just odd. And again, at the end of the day, Arizona did a lot of things that you can't miss the free throws that they did. I mean, Jaden Bradley was fantastic, but you can't miss the free throws, the amount of free throws they did. You shot 4 of 23. But to me, offensively is not why you lost this game. It was defensively why you lost this game, Ben One White.
Yeah, I mean, there was a good stretch there in that second half where I think Wisconsin hit 3 or 4 of them in a row. And funny enough, obviously, we all know they were honoring the 2 teams that we're all very well aware of, the 2014 and 2015 teams that happened about 10 years ago when they obviously shot Arizona out of the Elite Eight, pardon the pun. But you saw that there again in the second half. Wisconsin was just hitting 3 after 3, and there was nothing Arizona could really do. And that's kind of where you saw the double-digit figure pull away. I also think Arizona lost this game just passing up not only free throws, but just easy transition opportunities where you're able to maybe force a turnover or a steal or get something going in your direction offensively, but you just missed a lot of bunnies at the rim. And I was surprised to see Caleb Love, missing what he did and some of the other guards who got in there. Bradley, I thought, was probably the best player for Arizona in this game, but the guards were sloppy. I think the forwards were a little bit overmatched, right? And, down low, you kind of had challenges throughout the game. And then when you got younger guys in, obviously like Carter Bryant and some of these other guys, they just kind of looked like they were, out of their shell for the most part, right? Just with the number of fouls. But, I mean, Brad's absolutely right. I mean, in that first half, everything was called. In that second half, for the first 5-minute stretch, nothing was called. And then again, everything was called. And then Wisconsin started hitting 3-point shot after shot. And at that point, if you're Tommy Lloyd, I'm not sure quite what you do. And, I understand why he was so visibly upset throughout that game, because obviously officials don't make or break a win or a loss, but it felt like they were just so impactful in this game. And it just made it really hard for both teams to get into any sort of rhythm. And I think my takeaway is, yeah, Arizona has had challenges, on the defensive end, and we're going to continue to talk about those and have concerns, but it almost feels like Wisconsin lucked out in the sense that they were getting all the early fouls, and that helped them kind of build the momentum. And obviously it helps when you knock down the threes that they did, but it felt like the refs had a little bit of an advantage here. I'm not saying that Arizona lost the game because of the officiating, but the officiating was just wacky tonight.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Tonje had a career high in
21
shots.
free throws.
No, but he had a career high at the 8-minute mark.
Yeah.
Or the 12-minute mark. He had 9. I think 9 was his career high. So that, obviously that again, but at the end of the day, it's not so much the number of fouls, but how inconsistent it was, how it was hard to adapt to it. And then Arizona missed 12 foul shots compared to Wisconsin, I think, missed 6.
Right.
You just can't miss 12 foul shots.
All right,
and again, there were 87 or 88 free throws in the game. That's not fun basketball to watch.
One thing that I do want to point out to people here, I'm going to point out in a second because I think it's an important point. Oh, looks like I have lipstick on. But first, first. Neutral. All right. Look at Ben One White. That man right there. Very cool. Unlike us old fogies. Probably drinks some neutrals. This is true, Ben One White. This is true.
Yeah, you guys were talking about it on the show yesterday. I was on the beach, scouting, drinking some neutrals. It was a good time.
There you go. Exactly. Kevin L. Thomas drinking neutrals, Erika all day. But either way, check it out. Neutral. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch Neutral at flavored vodka and carbonation. St. Louis, Missouri. William Brad Ellis. Have you ever had a neutral?
I have not.
You should try a neutral. Either way, you will thank me later on it. Neutral. Also, Circle K. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, which Circle K do you go to? I go to the one on 6th Street. William Brad Ellis lives all the way out in, where is it? Gladys Farms, or what is the name of the Gladden Farms? Is that a...
No, I live at Earthroff in La Choya.
Oh, well, same thing. It's far out there, but yes, exactly. So you don't live out there with Chimino.
No.
But either way, Circle K though, be like Circle K. Circle K is there for Brad. Circle K is there for me. It is there for Ben One White as well. Circle K. All right, circle this on your calendar, ladies and gentlemen. But again, thank me later. Join your circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. All right, now. A lot of people are talking about, well, Tommy Lloyd can't win these games. I think that's totally wrong. Tommy Lloyd and the out-of-conference last year killed it. He went into Duke. Keep in mind, Arizona was ranked number 1 last year. He went into Cameron and he beat Duke. He beat Alabama, which is a Final Four team. Beat Michigan State. He's shown that he can win these games. It's actually been as the season goes on that he is that they've struggled. And like I said, when you're playing middle tier teams like a Wisconsin or an Illinois or something like that, it can happen. But obviously Arizona should be better than that. But again, it's early on in the season. I'm not gonna. Brian says he's 20-1 in November. People need to remember that. I mean, this is a guy that I know people are frustrated right now, but he's shown that he can win these games there, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, it's game 3, right? And college basketball is a very, very odd sport. And, we've seen historically, whether it's UConn or some of these other teams that have won the national title year after year, there's always been that kind of stretch of adversity, right? I mean, think about how many games UConn lost in January, I think going back a year and a half or so when they won it. Arizona's definitely had its moments, but I guess the one positive, right, is it's so early. And to our points earlier, if the defense and some of these other things we saw tonight are indeed true challenges, and it's not just one of those things where it's a weird night, the officiating is off. If these are things that really need to get addressed, you want them to get addressed now versus later in the year, because it's only going to help Arizona in the non-conference. And it goes back to the bigger point and conversation that we've had about the Big 12 and everything else, in that you want to play a tough schedule. You want to learn as much as you can about yourself early on and throughout the regular season, because the Big 12 is not going to have many easy games. And obviously we know what happens in March. So Arizona's kind of a little bit in a new era where there's not as many cupcakes per se as you're used to, but I think that's a good thing. And I'm not waving the white flag on the season or Tommy Lloyd or anything like that. Anybody who's saying that is just ridiculous.
Right. Brad?
Yeah. I mean, again, this game is probably meaningless in the big picture. Now, if these problems persist, as Ben said, then yes, that's an issue, but that's not an issue of this game. That's an issue. I keep seeing people talk about how good Wisconsin is or isn't. And frankly, we don't really know, because again, this is the new era of college basketball. They have several transfers. If they gel and some of the young guys develop, then maybe this is a better team than they are projected to be. Or this may just be a bad loss. Could this bode poorly for Arizona on the road in the Big 12? Maybe. But as he said, it's sometimes easier playing in front of 18,000 rabid fans than it is 54 people studying in the corner of Maples Pavilion. We don't know. It's too early to say. Yes, I see things I don't like about this basketball team. It could be a blip on the radar. It could be one bad game. And again, if your criticism of Tommy Lloyd is his first loss in November,
I want to get to this point here.
You've missed the whole point. The criticism of Tommy Lloyd, and rightfully so, is his performance in March.
Yes, it's how
this game has no bearing on that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get this criticism.
There's a couple people in here. Sanjeev, who's a Illinois fan, who's upset that nobody cares about Illinois. But let's talk about this. I don't know if this is a troll or not, but we're beating teams that's competent on the road. So you want to bring up last year. We lost in Corvallis and Maples. We have to play in real environments in the Big 12. It's not like playing in front of 50 people at Haas. You do realize that Arizona went into Cameron Indoor Stadium last year. Cameron Indoor Stadium, probably the toughest place to play in all of college basketball, and to beat Duke. You can't just overlook that if you're trying to make the point that Arizona couldn't beat anybody on the road last year. You can't overlook that point. That is a massive point that does not fit into your argument. Go ahead.
Honestly, this Arizona team has not laid an egg on the road against good teams. Where they've laid an egg is in the NCAA tournament and in neutral courts against good teams. I mean, and again, it was a great game, but the FAU game last year, Purdue, which I believe was in Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. So again, this whole argument that Arizona doesn't know how to play on the road, no, the argument is Arizona going to win on a neutral site in March? Because that's where they've struggled. Again, I don't like what I saw from the defense. I haven't liked Tommy Lloyd's perimeter defense in the whole time. I'm really concerned that Jaden Bradley, and we all know I'm a Jaden Bradley guy, had 0 assists tonight. Arizona had 6. Conversely, Wisconsin assisted on 17 of 23 buckets, which is an Arizona number. So those are my concerns. My concern is not overall how good Wisconsin is, how Arizona plays in the road, because to me, that's not the issue. The issue is everyone going to torch Arizona from behind the arc? Is Arizona going to not be a good 3-point shooting team this year? Is Jaden Bradley is Caleb Love going to continue to struggle in some big games? I mean, he's been great in big games too. Let's not forget that. But those are the questions. Again, the fact that it could have been Wisconsin, it could have been Northwestern, this is not a great team. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're a tournament team, especially because we all know the Big 10 is going to get 14
They'll get 20 teams in, and they'll all get bounced in the second round.
But the fact is, the problems I saw tonight had little to do with where the game was played and who they were playing, and it was about the name on the front of Arizona's jersey and their defensive liabilities, if they are liabilities, or was this just a really good night for Wisconsin?
Yeah, defensively, I think William makes a great point. Tommy Lloyd clearly, and it's weird because it's exactly it's the exact opposite of Sean Miller, where Sean Miller was going to hedge that pick and roll out to 87 feet if he wanted to, whereas with Tommy Lloyd, he's not going to do it. That is one thing, and again, I love Tommy Lloyd. I hope he's here forever. But that is one thing that is odd, and I think it's at this stage in the game, it's fair to say that that's kind of his philosophy, that he is going to allow people to shoot 3-point shots. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. That is definitely seems to be kind of his philosophy there, Mr. Ben One White.
And funny enough, I think that was Wisconsin's philosophy, right? Because they played the pack line and they forced Arizona to shoot. The difference is obviously Arizona couldn't make those shots. So no, I mean, this trend is nothing new, and it's something to certainly be concerned about. And I think at this point, it's more than fair to say that it's more scheme than it is player when it comes to this issue, right? Because we've seen it with a number of different teams, and I'd be curious to see what adjustments are made, because when you're playing teams that get hot from 3 or just shoot well from the perimeter, and you're going to see more of that, and we continue to see more of that in college basketball, just with kind of the evolution of the guard and just from a skill set standpoint, just how many shots guys are making night in and night out. So most good teams you're going to play, point being, shoot the 3 very, very well. And I would be curious to know what the response is from Lloyd when it comes to that, and how they correct that. And if I'm going away from tonight's loss, The fouling, I understand the frustration, but that's not my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is the two looming things defensively and the elephants in the room, because we've seen it time after time, and Arizona's got to figure that out. And, I think it starts with the coaching and obviously the players as well, but it's not going to bode well in the Big 12 when you're going up against guards who are athletic and who can do different things and obviously shoot very well, because they can beat you in all areas of the court, which is even worse than a team getting hot from three.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Let's go to our branded Bills tip of the cap performance right here. It's kind of a hit or miss here. Jaden Bradley, you are a huge Jaden Bradley fan. William Brad Alice, you were right. Jaden Bradley had a good game. Now, there were a couple things that were a little bit annoying. He missed a lot of free throws. That one struck me. And no, Dennis Walsh, I am not rethinking the spacers, because Arizona didn't have a hard time scoring. It was because of their defense was the problem. Nice try, Dennis Walsh. But Jaden Bradley, though, the one problem, though, like you said, no assists. I would like to see more. I would like to see assists from him. Again, he's not going to be Mike Bibby, but I would like to see 3 to 4 assists from him. But otherwise, that's my tip of the cap, Brandon Bill's performance. What say you, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I think it's Jaden Bradley. The points were there. He was the best shooter on the team. He made a number of plays on defense that really helped Arizona get back in it in the second half and keep it a single-digit game. And, he's proving slowly game after game why, he should be the starting point guard. What he brings from an athleticism standpoint, what he can do on defense. I mean, he really, truly does play both ways. And that shot is coming around. I don't think he's going to be a knockdown three-point shooter really per se, but he's definitely somebody that defenses are going to have to respect. And the assist numbers I don't love, obviously, right? And the ball movement wasn't as great tonight, but I think a lot of that too was Arizona. The majority of their points, as we know, in the attempts really came at the free throw line. It was just a weird game in terms of rhythm. And I think the assists, you may want to read into that a lot and say, well, Bradley should have had a number of different assists and Arizona should have spread the ball out a little bit more. I get where you're coming from, but I just think with the way the game was dictated, you saw the majority of the points at the free throw line. You saw the majority of your points come in transition as well. So I don't worry as much about that. But the bottom line is, I'm confident, and I think this team is confident in Jaden Bradley to really be the starting point guard, and he's going to carry them, along with Caleb Love, I think, as far as this team goes. So my branded Bills tip of the cap, Mike Luke, is Jaden Bradley. Yes.
I'll be a dissenting opinion, and I'll give it to a Walker for 13 rebounds. He had his struggles at times, but 13 rebounds is there. And Arizona, this is the other crazy thing about this game. Arizona out-rebounded Wisconsin 52-28. Now, Wisconsin wasn't missing a lot of shots at one point. But the fact is Arizona, did have 52 boards, 40 free throws, and lost by double figures. So just a weird game.
See, that to me is also where I'm kind of actually a little bit more bullish than maybe some folks are, because this team now has guys that can get to the free throw line and get to the free throw line consistently. Last year's team didn't have players that could get to the free throw line consistently. That to me is something that I look at and I find something of a little bit of a building block, to be honest with you.
No, I think that's good. I think a lot of that is when you have a Caleb Love who's not afraid to drive, when you have Jaden Bradley who prefers to drive, when you have, of all people, an aggressive Henry Vasar.
Yeah, I was going to say an aggressive Henry Vasar.
Krivas is going to get to the line when he finally gets his legs back. Arizona's going to have some guys who can get the line. Now they got to make free throws. They can't shoot as poorly as they did tonight. And unfortunately, even if Arizona shoots better, they're still going to lose this basketball game because it came down to the 3-point shot tonight. That was the difference of the basketball game. But yeah, Arizona is going to get to the line. They're going to get to the line a lot, and that's important because they're not just settling for jump shots. Or even worse, like they did it many times last year, passing on wide open jump shots.
Yes, all right. Now, Anthony Humbert is in here. He hates Henry Vasar. He is very upset that Henry Vasar is winning on and off the court. When it comes to the front court, I'm fine with the front court, to be honest with you. There were some plays with Krivas where some hook shots where I would think that he's going to be able to make later on in the season. Just he looked a little bit out of shape. The man of girth, Tobe Awaka, he was very girthy down low, getting 13 rebounds, like you said. I think Trey Townsend started to get it. I think Trey Townsend is going to be a pretty good player for Arizona. I think you started to see that in the second half. I'm fine, honestly, with the front court, to be honest with you. And again, I don't want to sound like a pie in the sky type guy, but like I said, I don't take a ton away from this. One thing, though, that we do need to talk about this, and this Sheer, unfortunately, might take a W on this. Del Orso is somewhat unplayable defensively. Bad. Whether it's guys cutting to the hoop, giving up threes. What say you, Brad? I see you maybe disagreeing.
No, I think the role that I envisioned for him and the role that I think he needs is just that scorer off the bench, where he comes in for 2 or 3 minutes here and there, gets hot, tries to knock down a couple of threes. But no, I mean, if he's getting, again, he shouldn't have more assists than Jaden Bradley. He shouldn't be getting maybe as much playing time as he does. He should be a guy, and again, on those games where he's scoring more than he's giving up, okay, yeah, great. But yeah, he's that guy who you situationally.
Right. What do you say? What do you say there, Ben One White?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just going to be the guy you bring off the bench when maybe Bradley or Caleb Love or one of those guys is not maybe giving you what you need from the outside when it comes to perimeter shooting. And, he can kind of be that sneaky guy who comes into the game where defenses don't pay a whole lot of attention to him, but he can get hot, obviously, at times. He's shown in other places. But, yeah, in terms of just overall play, it's going to be tough because anytime you have him out there on the defensive end, you're going to have to find a way to hide him. A team like Wisconsin, the way that their guards were going in terms of shooting tonight and everything else they were doing, it stood out. Do I think Del Orso will look as bad defensively in some of these other games, in other matchups? No, but at the same time, you kind of saw tonight what the issues will be long term. And the one thing I'll say is it never hurts to have too many good shooters on your team. And I don't know exactly what his role is going to look like, but I know if he can continue to make threes and make shots, and I know that there are going to be times where this team's going to need that, and there will be a place. I just don't know quite what that looks like for him. But yeah, I mean, there were times tonight where it was just an absolute disaster, and you can't have that happen. You can't have him out there and let up the number of shots and the mistakes that we saw with him. But I think it'll be fine. In terms of the front court, I'm fine with it. I mean, to Brad's point earlier, they out-rebounded Wisconsin, which by a significant margin too, which when you kind of look at the box score and even you look at how this game was played, you kind of scratch your head and say, wow, that's a pleasant surprise. So are there going to be times where the matchups aren't as favorable? Yeah, when you're going to have bigger guys. And I think you saw that to a little bit of an extent tonight with Wisconsin, just because they had 2 7-foot guys. But Awake is going to find a way to get his rebounds. I think Mo Krivas is only going to get better. Obviously, we know what he can do right at the rim and from a rebounding perspective. If he can kind of improve his shot in terms of hitting some things maybe a little bit away from the basket. I'm not saying it 3-point shooter or anything like that, although I think he did hit a 3 or something. Was it last week or one of these non-conference games? But nonetheless, I think Arizona is going to be fine, and they have options, right? So if foul trouble becomes an issue, I think with teams in the past, we would see that resonate, and Arizona would have issues. Now, granted, tonight you had 2 guys foul out, and you had 5 guys almost with at least 4 fouls. That's going to be a problem. But my point is, if you have 1 or 2 of those guys in the front court that have some foul issues, you have some options. And I think Arizona is deeper, as we've talked about. I think that just with the caliber of player you have, the guards are a lot more athletic. They can get to the rim. To your point earlier, it's just I think, more well-rounded roster than we've seen the last couple of years. But is it going to matter if we're still going to see these issues on the defensive end? In pick and roll situations, teams getting hot from 3, all of this stuff, no matter how talented your roster is going to lose you basketball games. So a lot of questions to be answered, but that's kind of where I'm at with it all.
All right, now, Kevin L. Thomas is telling me I need to get to a read right here. Let's get to a read. All right, branded Bills. Branded Bills. Ben White, is that hat a branded Bills hat? That is what I like to hear. William Brett Alice, you are a man that wears ball caps. You need to get a branded Bills.
It's on the checklist.
All right, that's what we like to hear. Either way, branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Ben White, did you use branded Bills, my friend? Or not branded Bills, code PHNX, Ben White.
I did. I went to the website. I got distracted and I didn't place the order. And Branded Bills proceeded to send me 10 emails in 48 hours. So they reminded me to place my order. And I got, 20% off? On PHNX, and they gave me another 20% off because it was a first-time purchase. So yeah, good stuff.
It's almost like a guy that would work at AT&T that could just spam people with emails or something that would have that kind of capabilities. That is what they might have done to you, Ben White.
Possibly, yeah. Interesting analogy there, yeah.
Yes, very interesting analogy. Branded Bills, premium headwear and apparel, save 20% with code PHNX. And Sanderson Ford. All right, listen. Sanderson Ford, when you think strength, when you think girth, when you think just, you think Sanderson Ford. Brad, I see you agreeing with this.
When I think trucks, I think Sanderson Ford.
Who doesn't think Sanderson Ford? There was a lovely lady in the press box that said she was looking for a job, and I told her that she should go apply at Sanderson Ford. So check it out. Get the new 2024 F-150 trucks with 3.9% APR financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back. Similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. So don't miss the Sanderson Ford Black Friday thank you sale. OAC through Ford Credit, up to $4,000 cash back, requires trade-in of a 95 or newer vehicle. Offers expire November 30th. Check it out, Sanderson Ford. All right, now moving forward then, does this change let me ask you guys this, does this change your outlook for the season? I still believe, and I'm going to say this, but I still believe that this is his deepest team. I think it's going to show, but you've obviously you got to see it from time to time. Oh, there were some questions on there about Caleb Love. I do apologize. Adam Fish, the great Adam Fish. Hold on. I will go back up there and find this. Let's see here. Where is it? Okay, Adam Fish. Mike, how concerned should we be about Love? Zone alum on my annual weekend trip. Had my first Sonoran dog. BK on first. Very, very tasty. Very tasty. Very good. What's your stance on the Sonoran dog? I like it. You should try out the Del Taco cheeseburger while you're in this parts of the woods. Double Del bacon loaded fries as well. Listen, here's where I'm at with Caleb Love. I like Caleb Love. I know a lot of people don't like Caleb Love. I don't care. Listen, he's going to have bad games. We know that. He's going to have really, really good games. My whole thing with Caleb Love is that I would like him to have, when he's having his 2 for 11 game, to be able to buoy that with 7 or 8 free throws. That's what I would like to see. I don't know if that is going to ever happen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, he's just one of those guys.
You're like, nah, probably not.
He's just one of those guys where you just keep it simple. You'd rather have him than not, because when he has that game where he does shoot 65-70% from 3, it's going to put Arizona in some really, really good spots. But there are going to be situations where, you see tonight we'll go 2 for 13, but I think Lloyd and this whole staff understands that, okay, if that happens, the way we have our roster constructed, we shouldn't necessarily be out of a game. And that was the whole thing from the beginning with Caleb Love, in that, is he going to come here and hog the ball and the entire offense is going to run through Caleb Love? And that's not the case at all. It hasn't been the case since he got to Arizona. So, yeah, it's a bummer. The performance tonight certainly didn't help. He couldn't really do anything beyond what he was able to do. A couple of plays where he forced that turnover, and I think he had that windmill shot. But, yeah, I mean, you'd like to see some free throws. You'd like to see a little bit more contributions on the defensive end, but I think that was tough too with the way the game was officiated. Typically, he does give you at least something in that area. He's not a great defender by any means, but he can at least keep another guard honest. And when these types of nights happen, you would hope that somebody like a Jaden Bradley, somebody like a Trey Townsend, a KJ Lewis, whoever it is, can kind of pick up the slack and make up the scoring. So I'm fine with it. I'm not thrilled about it, but Caleb Love is Caleb Love. I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
You know, you do want to see those occasional nights, and he kind of did it tonight, where he knows he doesn't have it behind the arc and he attacks more. And, you know, to his credit, he only went 0 for 6. Now,
he only went 0 for, I mean, we've seen games where he can go like 1 for 11.
Exactly. And, you know, he went whatever it was, 2 for 13 or total. So he did attack a little bit. But yeah, that's what you need. You need to see him to adapt and adjust. And when he knows he doesn't have, and again, we've also seen him where he starts out 1 for 10 and then hits 2 big ones down the stretch. Suddenly he's 3 for 12, but we forget about it because those 2 big shots. So it's a balance. He's a streaky scorer. He's a volume shooter. You know that going in, and there are going to be nights like this. The big thing is you can't have these nights happen in March. Because if you look at every great Arizona team that came up short, someone has an awful shooting night. Whether it's Kerr in 88, we can go to Damon
Baby
Khalid
Simon, Damon and Khalid, you know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Gardner in the championship game, obviously you had a one-armed Gilbert that night too, but it always happens. And again, I think if you look at every basketball program, those nights they lose, they probably have guys having bad shooting nights, and that's how Arizona's going to go as Caleb Love goes. The good news is I think with their depth, with their versatility, you can overcome that some nights. Tonight they couldn't because, again, they didn't defend well enough. They didn't shoot well enough from the free throw line. But there are going to be nights where he's going to have his 0 for 6 and he's going to have 7 points. But Krevis is going to have his 15 and Townsend's going to have his 15. Or Bradley's going to have his 12 with 5 assists instead of, you know, an 0 for his assists. So Arizona can overcome it. But, you know, again, when we're looking back on the season, my guess is if they do not win a national championship, someone, probably Caleb Love, will have a bad shooting night on that loss in November or March.
All right.
November.
Now let's switch back to some Arizona football here because who doesn't want to talk about that? I know the players. But first, why don't we get to the Back the A player of the game presented by Neutral. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. All right, Back the A player of the game presented by Neutral. Okay, now, Genesis Smith. He is very good. Genesis Smith is what an NFL defensive back looks like. He is hopefully you can hold on to him. He's quite good. 7 tackles, 1 pass breakup, 1.5 tackles for loss. Also think he had I want to say he had a couple pick or 2 in there. But Genesis Smith, he's really good. He's fantastic. What say you guys on Genesis Smith? And a pick. Yes, Dennis Walsh.
Yeah, I
mean,
he
had a fantastic game.
He did. I mean, I think he set the tone for what they were trying to do on defense. It seemed like every pass, too, that was kind of thrown his way, there were a couple where you thought, all right, you know, Houston could have definitely brought that in, but just that extra effort, that extra second of just getting your hand in and trying to knock the ball out. He's just a physical guy. And, I mean, we've seen that throughout the season. And, you know, Arizona's defense, I think, has gotten a bad rap this year just because of how bad the offense has been. When that is the case, right, and when you have 3 and out after 3 and out, puts your defense in a tough spot. And I think with all that said, the secondary has been okay this year at times. I get there have been situations, and, you know, obviously Arizona has let up some explosive plays throughout the season, but I think Genesis Smith and a number of different guys in that secondary have done a good job. And Mike is correct. He did have 1 interception today and kept Arizona in this game and allowed the offense to come in and do what they did. And Fifita was able to move the ball with Conley, obviously. And yeah, it was just a really all well around effort when, you know, we haven't really seen that in the last, 4 or 5 weeks. So it was refreshing for sure.
All right, now we're going to Brad. You stay right there, my friend. We are going to bring in our sideline reporter, Erika Elday. By the way, Ben One White getting Ben is so sexy. Wow. We found Erika's burner account. Hello, Erika Elday. How are you doing today? Our sideline reporter, the lovely Erika Elday. How are you doing? Fill us in. Game Elday.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did not think we would be gathered here on this fine Friday evening under these particular circumstances. I did not foresee this being the way that the cookie crumbled. But that being said, Genesis, let's just start with the player of the game that you guys just talked about. Genesis Smith came out, showed out, and I let Brent Brennan talk about it, and I want to take a minute to show that clip. So, Kevin, if you want to go ahead and play that for us.
It's awesome. I mean, I think we all just continue to see Genesis grow and develop as a really good player. Obviously, some of that is just kind of thrust into some action by some of the injuries that we had early on. Right, all of a sudden he's playing more. But he continues to find the football. He continues to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. He's a guy that we absolutely depend on. And hopefully you guys get to talk to him this week because he is one of the most engaging and energetic young people I've ever been around on the football field. Like just watching him at practice or watching him on game day, his energy is contagious. It's awesome.
Question: why is he soaked?
There was a locker room celebration. They broke a 5-game losing streak. Are you not going to celebrate that as well?
So they're pouring. I guess I'm confused. So they're were they pouring Gatorade on him because they beat Houston?
I do believe there was a wet celebration in the locker room. Yes.
Interesting.
Okay.
Is that giving the same energy as Wisconsin rushing the court in November?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure what to say about that. That kind of surprises me. But either way, I guess they're having fun. Yeah. So, anyways, it sounds like I'm kind of taken aback by that. But they're having a good time. They're having a good time. Good on them. It was a good win. It was a good win for them, Erika Elday. I get like I said, Jeremy. I'm not talking. I didn't expect that. That's all. But no, it was a good win for him for sure. I mean, they took care of business against Houston, and they got to give them got to give them some credit for that there, Erika Elday.
I mean, listen, we could talk all day about how this team doesn't deserve to celebrate, but the reality is Tyler Loop said it himself. He was here for that 1-11 season, and he wants to be able to celebrate however many wins he has left here at Arizona before he inevitably gets drafted into the NFL, and he deserves that. I mean, 62-yard field goal. We can't forget to give Mr. Loop. I'm sure you guys have given that man his flowers, but I mean, dude came out and just owns the field every time he touches it, and I think the really special thing about Tyler Loop, while I'm on the topic, is he said it today in his press conference. He doesn't strive to be a perfect kicker. He strives to be a perfect adjuster. And I think you saw it in tonight's game, and it's just been huge. 9 points, 62 yards. He's just been outstanding for the Wildcats. And like I said on the Twitter account, he is in fact a Sunday kicker. No ifs, ands, or buts.
He is. And there's NFL players on this team. Now, let's talk a little bit about real quick. That 62-yarder was fantastic. Can we talk about that jacket you were wearing though? That is fantastic.
It made me a friend. But also, Mike, I have something to tell you that happened after you left that I think is going to actually take you out. I was actually a part of the celebration on accident when I spilled water all over the press room. And not the upstairs room, the one that Brent Brennan comes into to talk right before he walks in.
Interesting. All right. Interesting. By the way, I think you have a secret admirer, Tim Gilbert, Erika Hartz. Lots of loves right there.
Can you blame him?
Yes, it was. Yeah, well, I don't blame him. Get a line there, buddy. Look at that school record 62-yard field goal. Like Jeremy Gonzalez says, that was amazing. That was very, very impressive. You made a friend in the press box. It was very, very impressive. Hopefully it's able to continue. Now, where is the beats? I would assume the vibes were very good going forward then, Erika Elday.
Yeah, and I'm actually, Kevin, I'm sorry to put you on blast here. I'm not sure if the other video is ready, but I did get a clip of Brent Brennan talking about just obviously the crowd tonight, and he gave a huge shout out to the Zona Zoo, as he should. The Zona Zoo did show up and show out, and a lot of them stayed for all of the game. And I'm not going to lie to you when I say it's actually freezing out here. So props to them for staying through kind of a boring win and really like, cashing it in. Kevin, if that video is ready, you can play it now.
All right, good to see everybody. Great night for football in the state of Arizona. Obviously, Friday Night Lights, Arizona Stadium version, but we also got high school playoff football everywhere. So what a great night. First, I got to say, Zona Zoo, our students, just incredible how they show up for this team every week. They were awesome. They were making noise. I thought our band was awesome. And for the people that showed up, thank you. Thank you for supporting these kids. Thank you for supporting this team. It is important, and it's so impactful. And so I just want to say thank you to them. I thought our defense was lights out. You hold the team to 3 points. You force multiple turnovers. You force multiple 4-and-outs. Turnover on downs, and that was just outstanding. And then I thought our offense, it was good to see us find some rhythm and move the football consistently. I thought that was encouraging. I thought, Joey Capra stepping in there at right tackle did a great job, and obviously there's going to be stuff that he can fix, but, he was a player that joined us August 5th. And so I thought that was awesome how he just played such a prominent role in this game tonight. Just a lot of fun stuff. Tyler Luke with the school record and 62-yarder. Just awesome to just kind of ending the half that way with some momentum. It was really, really exciting. So we're fired up. It feels good. Everyone's the locker room is just electric, and we were super focused on just getting one. Like, we had to get one. Now we get to enjoy this for 24 hours, and then it's on to the next.
Mike, I know you've got something to say about that clip.
I got it. Like I said, I'm gonna give the guy his flowers on this one. I've been pretty clear on where I stand on where what we've seen so far, but I'll give him, again, Arizona took care of business against Houston. Got to give him credit. And the defense played really well, and the offense made enough plays. So again, Ben, what say you?
Yeah, I think at this point in the year, right, you just have to feel for the kids on this team. And somebody like Tyler Loop, obviously, it's a very special night with that field goal, and Conley as well with the performance they had. And at this point in the year, you're just fighting for every little thing that you possibly can get, even outside of the win-loss category, right? You want to have a good game. You want to do good things. You want to be able to run the ball. You want to be able to throw the ball. Obviously, you saw the T-Mac touchdown tonight. So I think this team needed that. I think as you go into this final stretch of the season, you want to try to win out and maybe make a bowl. I don't think that's going to happen. But again, I think it's just an energy thing. And when you lose for so long and you lose the way that they've been losing, it's just a burden, man. And it's a burden on the coaches, and it's a burden on the players. And when you can celebrate the type of game that you had tonight, I think you have to celebrate it. And I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend like Brennan should be out there sticking his chest out and be all proud. That shouldn't be the case at all. Hopefully that's not what he's trying to do, but you should enjoy the win, move on to the next one, and understand that you're in a tough spot, and wins like this are not easy to come across, even though Houston is not a very good football team. But just enjoy the moment. That's all I'll really say about that.
Yeah. Erika, very much appreciate you. You are fantastic. You do a great job. We will talk to you soon. Thanks for putting up with me in the press box.
Hasta luego.
Tata
right,
for now.
TT. Oh, you beat me to it. Yes. All right, Brad won. I almost said Brad won, Alice. Okay, now
I'll take it.
Everyone is either first name the number 1 like me, or first name middle initial L. I guess everybody's middle name is either 1 or L.
Yeah,
so.
no,
or I get the full name treatment though.
You get you get William Brad Alice. But first, guess what? We got to get a read in here. We got to get a read. All right, baby, it's time. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Get the wave. Get the wave. Get the wave. Get the wave. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. What do you think? Which one do you think is better? Or which one do you guys like more?
The first one. It's more smooth.
Okay,
slick.
yeah, I like it. It's more. It's more subtle. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. What kind of experience is it, fellas?
Where's Jason Shearer when we need him? Yeah, fun and immersive.
Fun and immersive. Fun and immersive. But William Brad Alice, have you been to the Gila River Resorts and Casinos?
I have not.
It's been one white. Have you been there?
I actually have, yeah.
Yes, you have, and you liked it. This is true.
It was fun. And
yes.
It was immersive.
Yes. Very fun. Check it out, though. Like I said, they got all kinds of good stuff there. You could even run into some very cool people. Look at all these waves in these comments. Yes. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Fun, immersive experience. And no better time to become PHNX diehard. We also are having a PHNX takeover for Arizona ASU in a couple weeks. Check it out. The official PHNX Territorial Cup takeover plus pregame party November 29th. All right. No, it's November 30th. It is at Bourbon Bent. Diehard membership, free t-shirts, all of that stuff, access to all our premium written content, entrance to the Discord lounge, discounts on all events. All right, Brad, let me ask you this. With Brent Brennan, where do you stand with Brent Brennan going forward? What say you?
Well, it looks like he changed the lay, so maybe that's the secret. I think it's been, and I'm not a big fire the coach guy or blame the coach. I see very little that encourages me. I see an offense that I still think is a mess. I see a poorly coached offense, and he's an offensive guy. I know he doesn't run the offense, but you still have notice the touchdown, the long touchdown to T-Mac. What happened?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Fifita rolled out. Now he rolled out because that guy came off the edge early.
Would have killed him if he didn't roll out.
Yeah, but he rolled out and he hit and he hit the guy. You have a quarterback. He's making slow decisions, and a lot of that is because he's taking a 12-step drop. He can't see over the line, which means he can't see the middle of the field. So what do you do there? You have to. And Brennan finally talked about it week 6 or 7. I started talking about it in week 2. You've got to roll them out. You've got to slide protection. If it was me, I'd go with a How Mummy air raid with the big spaces between the linemen so he can see between them. I mean, the kid's 5'8". He's not, whatever they list him as.
He's not 5'11"?
He's not 5'11". Neither am I.
Mike Luke's 6'2".
So, yeah. And that's my problem. And again, my other problem is, look, Houston's offense sucks, but I know what it is.
Right. You know what they're trying to do.
Point.
They're in the pistol. They're running RPO. They're running read option. I still can't tell you what Arizona offense is supposed to be.
Right.
There were times.
And that's a problem when you have this kind of talent. You're this far in the season, you don't know.
Yeah. So again, if it was me, I probably would have put it in a version of the spread with an undersized quarterback and then try to feed T-Mac. But, and tonight they took advantage of short field. They took advantage of 2 big plays. But Fifita looks, beaten down. Again, the line's awful, and that was my concern coming into the season. That's why I didn't pick them to be a 10-win team, but they sure shouldn't be
a 4-win team.
Worst team in the Big 12, yeah.
Well, now they're not. It's Houston.
Now they're not, yeah.
Well, no, they've only got Houston's ahead of them still. Houston's got 3 wins, yeah.
And again, it's not even that if they lost every game like they lost to Texas Tech, where they're in it, they're punching, they're fighting, I'd be fine. But there's been too many UCFs and Kansas States and too many 2, 3, 4, 8 possession games, and that's what concerns me. And they brought back too much talent to be a 4-win football team.
Right.
Now, if they get to 6-6 and I see improvement each week, I might change my stance. Because, again, a lot of people were out on Judd Fish in year 1. The thing I liked is they got better every week. They still sucked, but they got better every week. And this team hasn't. This team has gotten worse. And, again, injuries, I know, play a portion. But they got their butts handed to them by a mediocre at best. And that might be generous UCF team 2 weeks ago.
Right. Bet.
Yeah, I mean, everything Brad said, and obviously Virginia as well. Another team that wasn't very good and completely kicked their butt. I just don't know what the answer is with him, and I don't understand, to Brad's point, what they're trying to do. And I get the injuries have been a concern. I get there have been a number of different things that haven't gone your way, but a poorly coached football team and a football team with no plan when you see it. Bad tackling. The offense is a mess, to Brad's point. There's no plan. There's no scheme. I don't know exactly quite what they're trying to do. It seems like it's put Fifita in the shotgun and have him read the field left to right and hold on to the ball as long as possible. And, when you have an offensive line that obviously has had some injuries, you can't do that. And, my thing is always in college football, especially with just how quickly you have to turn this kind of stuff around, just with the nature of NIL and everything now, you've got to figure out a way to win quickly. Why are you not coaching and adjusting to the talent you have on the field? Why not try to make things as simple as possible? And obviously Brennan's been around football, and I get that, but when you don't have any coordinator backgrounds or experience, he's never been an offensive coordinator. He's been a position coach going up here and there. When you start to dig deeper into what he's done, he really doesn't have a lot of experience. And I think, Mike, you say it best. If there's one way to summarize, I think this guy and the state of where we're at, it just seems like the head coach is in over his head. He's not ready for the moment. He hired a staff with the hope that it would work out. It didn't work out. When you don't have the experience, when you don't have the acumen, when you don't have the plan, when you don't have the knowledge, when things don't go according to plan, well, what's your next plan? I don't think he has one. I don't think he has had one. And when he realized that the play calling early on in the season was not the answer, sure, you removed Babers and kind of demoted him, but you didn't really fix anything. I think you did that just to please people versus actually getting to the root cause of the problem to say, hey, what adjustments do we need to make? We have an NFL wide receiver. We have 3 guys on that offensive line who could potentially play in the NFL. We have talent on the defense. I mean, shoot, you saw it tonight. There were, 3 or 4 NFL scouts at that game up in the press box. This team has talent. I'm sorry, the injuries have been unfortunate. They've been bad, but the coaching staff has just put these players in too many bad positions all year for me to have any faith as to what the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever you want to talk about looks like. Because if you can't make it work with this type of talent, how will you ever make it work? That's my take on it.
I would agree with that. Now let's get to the Desert Financial.
Well, let me get to say this. Let's talk about the opposite side of the ball. Let's talk about Dwayne Akina, who has had more injuries than the offense has. And more often than not, the defense has played well enough, at least for 3.5 quarters, to win. BYU ended up scoring 41, but the defense kept Arizona in that game for a while. Tonight, they dominated. Now, granted, they had to get a couple 4th down stops, but you can see what he's trying to do. And when another injury occurs, when someone exploits something, tonight, that kid was a good running quarterback, and he didn't really hurt Arizona. They've learned from their mistakes. The offense hasn't done that. And tonight, they were a little better, but, I mean, what was it, 27 points, Noah throwing a bad pick, running for his life a lot. You see the difference, I think, between that side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball.
All right, now it is time for the Desert Financial Credit Union by the numbers. Arizona's #1 credit union. All right, now you look at this. The big difference in this game is the 3-point percentage and the assist. 44% to 17%, 17 assists to 6 assists. That's the game right there, fellas.
Yeah, it is. That 17% was a really unfortunate number, especially with Wisconsin hitting not only a high percentage of threes, but just back-to-back threes there in the second half. It just seemed like it was never going to stop. And when that happens and when you're not able to respond and hit shots yourself, it's going to be tough late in that game. And it wasn't a blowout per se, but it was a significant win for Wisconsin. And very tough for Arizona to get back in that game. You can't have players like Caleb Love going 0 for 6 from 3 and not doing a whole lot else. So, again, we've talked about it ad nauseum. There are concerns. I get it, but still a very, very weird game to me, Mike. Just an odd game.
Yeah. Brad?
Yeah, I mean, not only – I think the thing you saw tonight is – and this is what Arizona has to do better. They were bad against the 3 early, and that led Wisconsin to get confident because a lot of those big shots in the second half, some of them were defended well. They were pulling up a couple times from 22, 23, and knocking them down, or even just taking them and then getting those long offensive rebounds. But they built their confidence early on by the poor defense. And Arizona just needs to be better against the 3. And if the other team is hot, Arizona can't be as cold as they were tonight.
Right. All right, everybody out there, we very much appreciate all of you double dipping on the post-game show. Mr. William Brad Alice, very much appreciate you. Mr. Ben One White, back on assignment from Spain. And Kevin Thomas, the lovely Erika L. Day. I am merely Mike Luke. All right, Dennis Walsh has this. Back the A, back the Mike, back the tight end wizard, Ben One White, back the William L. Brad.
That's all you need. That's the outro right there. You don't even need to talk, Mike. Right here is the outro.
Yeah.
Dennis wrote it for you.
Yep, there you go. You've been listening to the Easy Wildcats post game.
We all silly like the mayor.